Yes, maybe.
Hey, welcome to Spirit Talk Live. This is Zane Wheeler, CCHT. I'm happy to be on here with Benny Lokos today. Benny, tell them about yourself. You're a hypnotherapist like myself. You are, a Reiki Master? You working toward that?
No, I have the Reiki Master for the last 6 years. I got certified. But now the frequencies have changed, Zane. I mean, I'm basically a channel for Reiki, but now after doing a lot of work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, as I know I mentioned to you, advanced healings and stuff and so forth. The energy, I'm a channel for whatever, I want to say more than just Reiki, and so I'm a hypnotherapist, as getting a little feedback there.
Yeah.
So Spirit's been running wild, by the way, with the echoes that's been happening. I've noticed on other Zoom chats and such. But so basically, I do a combined approach, and so I do Reiki, hypnosis, as you know, like yourself. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and NLP or neuro linguistic programming, as well as sound healing and aromatherapy. And so I put that all together in an approach.
I love it.
So thank you for that. Thanks.
Dude, it's great to have you on, man. And you had me on your group. I wanted to give you a little love here on From Shadow to Shine. We got a lot of great folks here, and I'm actually trying to get it to where I can see folks' comments really quickly. So let's do that. But I wanted to talk today with you about how it is to kind of live in a society where, folks who are walking a spiritual path aren't necessarily welcomed in every situation. They're not welcomed in every social group. And in fact, I have a lot of friends who are starting to awaken on their own path. And, I had one talking to me the other night, very, scientific dude, very analytical, always has been, very logical, very, left-brained, of course. And he's telling me, I'm starting to meditate. I'm starting to use mindfulness in my everyday practice, and I'm starting to breathe. But the effects that I'm feeling and the things that I'm seeing come up in my life because of this new practice have been astonishing, but I have no one to talk to about it, right? I can't even talk to my wife about it. She's like,
she's really?
Always telling me as
that's pretty bad.
For sure. But, I think it's across the board, you hear this pretty regularly, right? That like folks are kind of starting to wake up and, maybe start to embrace this path that a lot of folks like, aren't really walking yet, or at least are wanting to walk maybe, but don't know the right path or the right route to get to the actual path itself. There's some self-loathing around the idea of opening up to those kinds of things. I think it's like sort of we come from like sort of a closed-minded programming, you know what I'm saying? So like waking up to that is really a sort of a difficult journey. And then, you have the added insult really of not having anyone to really talk to about it when you start to walk the path. Because
yeah, and I think it's if I may chime in here, I mean, I think it's even worse than that, because we have not only to some people, like my other friend, he's just like that. I won't name names, but if you do listen, let's say Mike, I'll say Mike.
There you
go. He's exactly like very similar to that. He's very cerebral. On the left brain, right, Zane? On the left brain, and he's an engineer, very smart guy. But I did a sound healing session for him and his girlfriend, and he said, Benny, I think that actually did something. And I could say, I'm getting all choked up on this one. I'm going to say it definitely did something. Like I saw a change in their fields, and I felt the energy shift for him. And he said, I think I felt something, for him. But for him, that means a lot, because normally in the past, he made a joke of it. He goes, what are you doing with those gong bells or Reiki stick? Everything with him before was a joke. And now he's, so I think it's happening globally, Zane, like a global wake up. And I think, 2020 is not just 20th vision, 2020 this year. I think this is going to be a year of great awakening. And I think, but excuse me, but we were talking about, or you started the conversation with, how do we, you asked me before the show, how can we graciously wake up? How do we graciously handle this? And is there a gracious way? I mean, sometimes it's just difficult, and it's, you do the best way you can. And, see someone like you or myself to, first of all, grounding, I think grounding is really important to get grounded. And for me, I found until recently, I was avoiding public places because there's so much negative vibe I was feeling. And now I'm just like, I'm going to protect before I go to, like, for a hospital or a doctor's office, for example, or the supermarket, all those places where spirit is, people don't look so positively towards spiritual people. But now I've noticed a change, people solicited all of a sudden starting to, wake up, and I hear things that are shocking me in a good way. But what have you found that too, or what's your experience?
And I've been shocked in good ways too. I think that's a great way to put it, where you're sort of in a coffee shop and you're kind of doing some work on your computer, but you overhear a conversation next door, maybe that's like they're talking about chakras or something, and you're like, all right, cool. And you kind of know, like, you get this warm feeling because, it's not that you're necessarily going to be a part of that little community to your left, but you are going to sort of awaken to a new reality, which is that, this is more pervasive and is something that more people are embracing than you thought. And again, I think it really comes down to recognizing that, we can't misjudge humanity right now either. We have to really keep an open mind about, who's awakening, where they're headed, how many people are starting to catch on, how many people are starting to really look at themselves and do their inner work. Because I think for folks that are, walking their path and are, doing the work that they need to be doing, answering the calling, really, we have a tendency to say it's us versus them, and I think that is an uncomfortable position to put ourselves in. If you're against anything, then you're really not walking the path. You know what I'm saying?
You're also against, if you can hold that thought, I just want to interject. Perfect. I was just thinking the same thing. And also, like, it's kind of going against yourself with that whole mirror concept, because, we're a mirror to, whatever we very much dislike or find against is really what about us are we against, or are we, judging about ourselves, exactly. and so that's come up a lot. And I feel that if we're going to, I don't know if it was, who said this, if it was David Wilcock or Corey Good or one of those cool guys from, the Gaia Network when they were still, when David was still, they were talking about consciously this a couple of years ago, that we have to raise as a humanity as one, like when we look to awaken, it's not just going to be individually, but it's also going to be globally as one humanity. Right. And if that's the case, then we have to consciously be aware of everything. And we can't, like what you're getting to is we can't push people, I've even been guilty of that. You want someone very much to change, so you want to influence them, and but they have to awaken at their own time and pace. We can't, right? I think that's what you're kind of getting at.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would talk about this a lot. We were talking about this, I think, yesterday in our a live call from Shadow to Shine Online. We were talking about, for everyone in your life that you're close to, there's actually two of those folks. So there's the external version and the internal version. So we have this internal concept of everyone in our lives, and especially our spouses, our parents, our siblings, the folks that we've grown up with, and that internal composition of them is an amalgamation really of everything that they've contributed into our lives. So the good, the bad, the ugly. But unfortunately, what happens with the psyche and the ego is that, we tend to focus on the bad aspects of them. So that you might notice that, like, say with your spouse even, that there is this inner concept of them that is a little bit off kilter, a little bit uncomfortable, maybe a little bit standoffish, right? And what happens with that when you're holding that internal composition of someone is that you tend to lead with that energy when you're entering into an interaction with them. And I think a good, example of that is, say you have maybe like a sister who's a little bit out, you feel like you're worried she's an alcoholic, right? And you don't see her that often, but you're going to see her because it's a family gathering. Well, if you have that alcoholic image of her inside, then you're going to enter into the situation, bring that energy into the situation, front load the situation with that energy without even giving her a chance to show you who she is in the moment, right?
Exactly.
So I think it's, if you sort of extrapolate that out to a wider base of strangers and humanity, and really just trying to embrace humanity from within with this idea of them kind of accepting the light that's shining down upon them and starting to walk their path and like giving them the benefit of the doubt with that inner concept. I think that's nice. A good beat. But
beautiful.
The thing about this, inner concept thing is it's really sort of a selfish thing in a good way. We're always trying to fill our cup first so we can give away. But when we have a strong and peaceful and comfortable inner concept of someone, we feel better about the relationship. And I think that's the point, is that like, if you if you had an argument with your wife, saying you leave, you drive off to kind of cool down, but you pause and you kind of take in an idea of her that feels comfortable to go home to, it's going to be a lot of weight off your shoulders. You know what I'm saying?
Beautiful. So if we live in a world, imagine saying, excellent points, by the way, that we can always have that positive aspect or image, or even if we don't have it, we change our point of view. And because what the law of attraction, what you very much put your focus on, and that's where your energy goes, and that's where your attraction goes. And they did that with the physics, the quantum physics, when they discovered, right, when they focus on whatever they so very much focus on, they would attract that, right? You attract that towards you. So why not attract what you want? And I'm going to try to work on that this weekend with some people like my ex-wife, and just always have the put the view of how you want them to be, and make it like they're actually like that already in the present moment. Right. That's an awesome point that you're making.
I think that, yeah, and it's just really not fair. And this comes back to our earlier point about humanity and like wanting folks to, meet us like where we're headed, or like get on the journey. I think it's that we want more people on the journey with us. I think that's the underlying intent here in wanting people to wake up, wanting people to hear this message, that kind of stuff, is that we want people to join. The more the merrier, right? Yes. We want people to join this kind of movement that we're on, because we feel good. I feel great. I work constantly on looking at why I might feel bad and doing something about that. Whereas I think, a lot of humanity might say, okay, if I feel bad, let me go to my doctor and ask them what's wrong with me, so that I can get a professional opinion of what's wrong with me, when I'm really just putting my energy outside of myself again and asking for a pill or a surgery or whatever it may be.
Right.
So the idea is that, like, I feel good. I want others to feel good, and I want others to be on this journey with me. And so if I see that folks are sort of, zombified, right, and in this trance and walking around and not really feeling that joy that they could feel in life, I want that for them. You know what I mean? So is that a judgment? Yeah, sure. Because, to a certain degree, it's a judgment. I don't know if it's a negative judgment, because, what I'm doing again, and this is all about like sort of free will and not impinging on other people's energies, is to say, okay, if I see someone with a frown on their face walking down the street, I can't just assume that they're not on a spiritual path, right?
Right. Not at all. Right.
Yeah, totally. And I think sometimes folks who are spiritually oriented kind of have this maybe a discomfort with seeing others that are unhappy, this spiritual bypassing thing. They don't want to look at the dark side of stuff. But man, that's true shamanism right there. You got to look at the shadow.
Exactly.
So I think that this is, the next elevation, the next up leveling of this movement, I think, is going to be the one where we say, okay, we have to embrace the shadow instead of avoiding it. And
it's saying exactly. I mean, it's a yin yang. I mean, we have, you can have light without dark, and you can have dark without light, and we have to embrace the shadow, because it's a shadow of us, and also the Kundalini energy. You got both coming in. And by the way, the energy on this call, I don't know if you can feel, Zane, is like really strong. Yeah. Like I'm going like this. It's like I feel the energy rolling in my feet and coming from divine. It's really strong right now.
I love it.
So you feel it too. It's like beautiful energy.
We hit the ground running like gangbusters, man. I love it.
Yeah, and there's some like going. I see where you are. It's nice and sunny. There's some crazy, like almost gale force winds, maybe almost hurricane force winds outside that are so strong. And so there's this, I don't want to say tornadic, but it almost feels like tornadic energy. Yeah. On this side, and then you hear the sun and say, "We got a little yin yang going on here too." And it was cloudy when we started the call. Now it's nice and blue skies. So it's like it's I'm with you on that, and I don't think it's at all selfish on your part, or what you were kind of alluding to in a kidding way before. I think you have to ask those questions, and you have to say, hey, come on, like what aspect of ourselves do we see in others that we want to change?
Absolutely. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That's a great point. Yeah. And using that as sort of a barometer of your growth and, how you immediately observe someone, I think is a good way to kind of really look at yourself. Like you said, it's a great way to do that. I think that if we could backtrack a bit and talk about sort of the auric stuff and the protection stuff, I think that's a good thing to mention here too, because we've got a lot of folks on the group who are, looking to assert themselves in society, or they have to, right? You have to live in society. You have to live in this 3D world. If you're coming from a 4D, 5D perspective, you got to be in the 3D world. How do we go about doing that, right? That's the question. If we're opening up to these energies of the heart or higher, right? And out of like this ego entrapment stuff, you got a fax coming in?
No, I went. No, that's the heat. I didn't want it to.
I love it.
Cut off. Yeah, that was funny.
we're living from the heart or higher, and how do we go back out into the world with that mentality when we know? But again, this is another judgment. We know that we're going to be met with contention and energies that are contentious to that heart energy. I think that we really have to look at some empathic maintenance, which is of course what we talk about in Shadow to Shine Online. A lot about that is just like auric manipulation, and recognizing that when your aura, your energy field, your electromagnetic field spills out into the fields of others, that's when we as empaths start to pick up on other people's energies, is when our aura is mingling with theirs, okay? And this really cool thing, I heard, I'm reading this book by John Keel, who is, he did the Mothman prophecies, okay? I'm on this totally like cryptozoology, this paranormal fix right now. So I'm reading one of his other books where he talks about how paranormal activity is intrinsically linked with electromagnetic waves, and how
that's the myth. All right, wow, what synchronicity! I can't believe you're saying that.
Yeah, you got some stuff. Hold on.
Yes.
I'll get this out. So he had an anecdote in the book where he talked about if there is one psychic person who is, well aware, 6 chakras open, and they're seeing a UFO display, right? Even a paranormal event, a ghost, whatever. And someone steps into their auric field, gets close to them, maybe 1 or 2 feet away, that person will be able to pick up on those psychic energies as well, because they're in the field of the psychic.
Whoa,
right?
I was to say that before you said it, I knew what you were going to say, because it makes sense, and that's beautiful. So if I understand you correctly, all right, to give you an analogy and to show you, to make sure I understand this correctly. So yesterday, I was on a Zoom chat for a healing we're doing for this beautiful woman. No names apply here or anything to keep confidentiality. But her son was on the call. And while he was on the call, we heard a Tibetan singing bowl being gonged. Now I have 3 of them here. I wasn't gonging any of them. I'm like, who else has a singing bowl there? And then we went one by one. No one was playing the ball. Her son went off the call. Sound disappeared.
No way.
So what you're saying is, while he's on the call, and let's say someone else was in his field, and they would hear the same sound that we would hear, right?
Right. That's the idea.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't matter where we end and the next person begins when we're all enmeshed aurically, is the idea.
So of course it makes sense, because we're through it's called the morphogenic field.
Right.
And the morphogenic field, what we put, that's the whole concept with this other group by 1 million meditators, or the light workers. Like once you get above a certain frequency, and I don't think I'm anywhere near that, but if you can get over 500, and you get up to above 700, you start radiating a really powerful light energy field around. Sure. And I know that I'm in the protection area, where it no longer bothers me when other people, if they're negative, I'll do a quick protection prayer, which I'll be happy to share with your viewers if you want, that I learned that I do. But basically, I always do that before I go into a courtroom, a situation where I feel that there could be some negative energies. I'll do the quick protection thing. And even if I don't do it, I know I'm fine, because I know that I'm vibrating high enough that I'm thinking positive about the other person. I've already started to do that work that thanks to you also in your course, and I've done the work, and so I feel protected. I'm not worried about, I know that I'm putting out the energy that I want to, be that energy that who said it, that I want to receive. Gandhi says that, right? Be that that you want to receive.
Yeah, there's a lot of the furthering of the science around the morphogenic field is really interesting to me, and I know Dispenza gets into that stuff.
Yeah,
that stuff, but the interaction really from person to person, and when you throw an empath in the mix, it gets so interesting, because we start to realize that the aura, the electromagnetic field, is really the boundaries of our awareness. So if you're tuning into others' emotions and you don't like what you're feeling because you're in a big party and there's a lot of different personalities, you pull your energy field in. but we don't realize that we need to do that. And I think that that's one of the things that holds empaths down, is that they associate this empathic identity as a negative thing, because they can't control the aura.
So can I interject with that? From what I learned, and not just Dr. Joe, I mean, he's a big proponent of it, but this really came from the Math Institute. With love, when you have the positive emotions, restorative emotions like love, gratitude, and joy, and every day you feel that. And I've been working on this for several years now, feeling it only in the heart center, and not feeling it's only happened once, which I mentioned on the call yesterday, anger with my mom. And but I became aware of it very quickly, and I quickly shut it down. It's like, wow, that's not good. So I immediately got off the call, ended it, told my mom, I'm feeling these feelings and I don't want to feel that way. And then I went quickly to work on myself, my breathing. So one way that, you're asking people that on the call, work on the breathing, focus on the breath. Right. The breath always brings awareness back, right? I mean, I know you know that too. Right. And then breathing, so I breathe in love, joy, and gratitude, right? And then the difference is, I used to say breathe out, the negative. No, now I breathe out, love, joy, and gratitude. Yes, that's a huge difference. So you're transmitting what you're feeling. And then when you get back, you get back tenfold. The love, joy, and gratitude you put out, you're going to get back tenfold. And then breathe it out again, and then receive it again. Now, I mean, I'm feeling with you, we're not even saying it. There's a very strong series. The energy is so strong. And the last thing I want to mention, Zane, was that I know that heart math, they've measured it, this field between two people as like 10 feet. But I can tell you right now, there's no limit. It goes throughout the universe. We've seen it it goes throughout the universe, dude. You send out love, joy, and gratitude, and enough of us, there's the other gentleman, whose name, it'll come back to me, but the yoga master, Yogananda, it wasn't him. It was like his disciple came up with, but you'll know when I mention it. The square root of 1/10 of 1% of the entire population has love, joy, and gratitude, and they did studies. They did it around a war between Israel and Jordan, and they had the guys in Jordan, and then the next day or that night there was a ceasefire. Wow. I mean, that was no coincidence. They made it as a fact. There's it's the Maharishi effect. That's it. Yeah, the Maharishi effect.
The effect. I like it.
All right. So the Maharishi effect is really powerful. And so even that alone, I mean, you could use it yourself, right. And
I'm really glad you brought that up, because this is kind of where this conversation would take us, is this metaphysical perspective and sort of bringing it to the world, is because we start to see that the Maharishi effect, as you put it, is actually more of a tangible and affective reality than the physical reality, right? So the energy we carry, the energy we transmit, the energy we exchange is much more of a tangible, palpable, real reality than the physical reality is, right? And there is this sort of undercurrent of energy that connects everything, but if that's manipulated, it will manipulate the way reality seems, the way people feel, the way people interact. So the Maharishi effect is much more real, I would say, than this physical interaction, this physical reality, because the energy of the actual exchange is the bigger reality, I think. And
we could go on for hours on this. Like, totally. When you were saying that, like I was thinking, can you hold that thought?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, and just for the viewers, we didn't rehearse any of this. We're just we're flowing here, guys. We're literally, yeah, exactly. So and thank you for having me, Zane.
Of course, man.
On this one, because I love this stuff, Zane. I mean, there's not a day that I'm not thinking about the morphogenic field, our own auric field, the Akashic records, and how they're all intertwined. And all this about in the law of one, right? And bringing back what is our purpose here? What's our higher self? And the more we're in alignment with our higher self, so what I've come to learn is, like, when we're in alignment with our higher self, we're protected. We don't have to worry about auric, and we have love, joy, and gratitude. Totally. So I think a good way, like, for the viewers to, like, a suggestion that I've learned, and things that you just said today, I've learned from Zane, is that when I'm going to go grocery shopping later, and if something happens, I hear people yelling negative, I'm going to send them love. I'm going to send them joy. I know it sounds kind of like, from a man's perspective, might seem like, okay, is that really masculine? Yeah, dude, it is. Okay.
Yeah, that's the
because
masculinity.
it is, because we send love, joy, and gratitude. Those people, we can affect those people and change. Mm-hmm. All right. And I've had other peers have done the work, saying, not including you, and several other friends. One of them is a member of he's trained with the Heart Math Institute, and we've done it together. We've as an experiment, without telling people, we've changed our field. And there's still a woman I'm working on, without saying names, that she's personally said that she's had personal issues with me, and I'm constant. Even today, I was in a call. Mm-hmm. Even though I don't feel the love, I sent it back out. And today, for the first time, she recognized me on this call and by name and actually positive. So it took, you may not see the effect on the other person right away, but number one, it's doing two things. One, it's going to protect your field, absolutely, mm-hmm. because when you're sending love, joy, and gratitude out to the world, mm-hmm. your field is expanding. It's not. It's like our field. God knows how it's sake. We're like, who knows? Because I feel you feel me. It's like the field is really strong between us right now.
Country, yeah, for sure.
Right. I mean, you're in California. I'm in New York, and who knows? Hopefully, we're affecting the middle. Even more than we realize.
Sure.
But the bottom line is, for those in quick synopsis, because we only have 4 minutes left, mm-hmm. from my end of it, and then it's your call to end. It's really simple. You want to protect your field. Mm-hmm. It's so simple, guys. Just project out joy, love, and gratitude. It's that easy. Because when you're projecting out joy, love, and gratitude, love, joy, and gratitude destroys. Okay, it's like the light that destroys the dark. It destroys anger, fear, frustration, and at the very low end of the spectrum is shame. Okay, and what's the opposite of shame? Or the opposite of fear is love. The opposite of shame, is joy and gratitude. And gratitude is a restorative emotion. It's the ultimate. Dr. Joe says the ultimate receivership, because it's already happened. So why not use gratitude all the time? It means it's already happened. So thank you. Namaste from my point.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, the vibration that you're speaking of is distasteful to anything lower than it, right? It's sort of a repellent for anything lower than it. And I think that's the point, is that when it's transmitted out into the world, you exist in that field in a space of automatic protection, because again, anything lower than that cannot affect you. And I feel that for sure. But I think the bigger point too is that, an idea of faith needs to be introduced, where there's a faith in, like you said, the higher self, which of course would be the channel for source, all of that good stuff, everything that, empowers us, that gives us this consciousness, allows us to have this communication here, is that godly power, right? Is that divine power that can flow through us if you allow it, but we've been tricked out of that ability to allow it, right? And we talk about that in Shadow to Shine Online, where it's like the week one, get right into it. Faith. Where has your faith been stolen? Well, from the religious authority, right? So let's cut that out. Let's cut out all those false beliefs around where faith comes from, and reinstate the sense of faith that is connected right to source, right? Beautiful. So that once that faith is flowing within you, and you recognize that this divinity is the power center that will allow you to control your aura, allow you to protect yourself, allow you to transmit that love, joy, and gratitude, that stuff you're talking about, all of that stuff is, that power is coming from that bigger thing, that divinity, that higher power, that higher self, whatever you want to call it. So I think that's one of the main things here, like you said, and that was a great point, is that if you're connected to that, that's all you really need to matter. That's all you really need to worry about, because it's flowing within you no matter what, when you're connected to it. You just got to believe in it, right? And you got to hold it. There isn't all this crazy maintenance that a lot of people think you need to do. You got to ground, you got to put up a big shield, you got to make sure all your energy's cleared.
But that happens, I'm sorry to cut you, but that happens naturally when you, when you're a channel for source, whether it's Reiki at this point. I'd hate to say I could care less about the Reiki training, because of course I do care about it, but it's so much more than just Reiki, that I could tell that you're a much greater channel than Reiki too. Mm-hmm. So we're channeling source. How much more protected can you get, guys? And when your source running through you, and whoever's going to listen to this call, they're going to feel it. It's my feet feel like they're shaking. It's like I feel the energy coming up from my my feet and coming in. I always had to get grounded before, but now we're grounded really nicely. I love it. And we're primed. We could go out shopping. I don't even have to do any protection prayer. It's already there.
Right. Totally. Yeah. You just got to have that faith. You got to be connected. So why don't you give a quick plug to your group?
Yes. So we're going to share this in the Art of Self-Healing. And the Art of Self-Healing, I know I've been threatening for it. I'm actually about 2 weeks away from actually launching, the actual program. And Zane, actually, you're going to be there too, as we talked about in the past. And like I said earlier, we're at the close here. But Zane and I are going to be doing weekly chats. We're going to try to aim at weekly chats. What do you think next week we talk about perhaps the aura and how if you're in alignment with higher self is what I wanted to get. That's what I like to talk about in my group. Sure. So keep a mental note of that, because we could have at least 10 million thoughts between now and then, because they say every day you have 66,000 thoughts.
Wow, cool.
And the difference between us maybe and some other people, because we do hypnotherapy, we're always thinking and we're consciously aware of our thoughts. A lot of people aren't. Mm-hmm. And that's where the negative gets snuck in. So for the viewers, what you may want to do for those that are listening in the Art of Self-Healing and also Shadow to Shine is look at your thoughts. All right. And I'm going to do the same for the rest of today. All right. Whatever. I mean, you guys, it's only one, what is it? Almost 2? Mm-hmm. So it's almost 5 o'clock. So wherever you are in the world listening to this broadcast, whether it's the Art of Self-Healing, Shadow to Shine, keep track of your thoughts the rest of the day and see how many of them are positive. All right, this is the hard part. How many are negative? If you find you're going negative, all right, we all do it. It's subconscious level, guys, 95%. All right, let's become more aware of it, and let's keep working on it. So all those thoughts until they're all positive. Like now I've been doing it every day, and I could say 95% of my thoughts are positive, which is really hard to do, as you know, Zane.
Well, just having the courage to look. I think that so often, we have a screen in front of us. We got a movie on that's feeding us a narrative. We're not using our imagination to create any of that, so we're not really connected to our thoughts as often as we should be. And so that's one of the things that meditation brings, of course, too. But I think it's just the real, the raw courage to accept your thoughts, to look at them as something that is within you, but isn't necessarily you. They're based on other people's viewpoints. They're based on what ego wants to create to separate people and stuff like that. So there's a lot of junk in there. But you're right. When you start to look at it and notice the negativity, lean into the negativity, and maybe even try to chart it back and see where it comes from, you can kind of put out those fires as they come. And then you'll notice, like you said, with a little bit of effort, when you're brave enough to look, you're going to start to refine your thinking to where, because you're aware of it and because you bring love to it, there's going to be this refinement of the thinking where more positivity starts to flow. Because the negativity isn't there anymore, because you've shined the spotlight on it. You've shined the spotlight of wisdom on it, right?
Beautiful.
So that negativity kind of just dies off, and that positivity starts to flow through. And it's a great thing to mention from a therapist perspective that yes, this is something that everyone works through. Everyone toils with negative self-talk, but really, where does it come from? Is it really your voice? No, probably not, right? It's a great thing of. So listen to Benny on this one, because for the rest of the day, really start to look at your thoughts, and we are going to come back at you live as soon as we can. I want to do this more often. This has been great, Benny.
Fantastic.
Thank you for joining.
Yes.
Get at Benny for any work. He does private coaching and private Reiki work, all the great, actually remote Reiki work too, right? Too, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. It's like I said, the field throughout the world. Not just the Reiki, and it's basically shaman. It's like shaman work now, dude. Mm-hmm. It's shaman-like as well, and energy healing, and so in the new course that I'm starting in 2 weeks, I'm including Reiki level 1. I meant to mention that, which is important. But stay tuned, because I imagine Zane and I are going to be doing weekly broadcasts, and I don't know how you feel, Zane, but I feel really good in my heart center.
Oh man,
I feel amazing. So
yeah,
to you, thank you so much.
Brother.
Little energy for you.
Yeah. A little vibe.
And back at you.
Yeah.
So thank you those who joined us, and thank you again, Zane, for having me. And to be continued.
Like and love this. Let us know how you feel about it. Write some comments on there. Thanks for the comment, Shaheen. Good to see you on here, brother. And we'll come back at you as soon as we can. Take care, guys.
Okay, take care. Namaste, everyone.
All right.
Okay.